Hello and welcome to the Blockchain Mining Explained webinar. Disclaimer, nothing in this presentation should be taken as legal or financial advice. So what are we going to learn today? So we're going to go over the blockchain and what it is, the cryptocurrency, what that is, the basics of cryptography, looking at the blockchain, how it works, and breaking it down into a chain of blocks. The crypto economy, how it works, is it viable, and what exactly miners do. Okay, so starting with the blockchain. What is the blockchain? So put simply, it's really just a database or a ledger of information. But to get more specific, it's decentralized, meaning it's owned by no one, and it's connected through the internet. So because of the decentralized nature of blockchain, it's nearly impossible to destroy or prohibit. So by the sounds of that, you may be wondering, how exactly is blockchain impossible to destroy? Well, because it's decentralized, but what exactly does that mean? It's owned by no one, but what does that look like? So this is a visualization of what decentralized is. You have this ledger, this database, and all these computers, these servers here, each have a copy of them. This is in comparison to, say, maybe a company like Facebook. They obviously wouldn't be decentralized. They would have to store a lot of data like accounts and logins, messages that are sent to people, posts that people made, and all of that information needs to be stored somewhere. So they would, of course, have their own servers and store it there. All of that information is owned and controlled by Facebook. Compared to here, what we see here, these are all computers and servers owned by anyone. And even you can be one of these computers that we see here. All you need is a device that can connect to the internet, and you can have a copy of the blockchain. So what does that do? By allowing everyone to have a copy of this blockchain, what it does is it puts the integrity of the blockchain on anyone who just joins the network, rather than, say, in the Facebook example, it's only on Facebook and you need to trust Facebook to maintain those records. But in this case, because everyone owns it, say if another person joins this network, they get a copy of this blockchain and they wanted to change one record. So maybe it had a record that said, oh, Alice sent Bob $20, and you wanted to change it to $200. But when you look at all the other records, with all the other copies that you see here, it says, no, it's actually $20. So in that way, it corrects anybody who, or it prevents anyone who tries to change the records in a way that it shouldn't be changed. So because of that, it's not owned by anyone. This is what we mean by decentralized. So how does that relate to the fact that blockchain is impossible to destroy? Well, in order to destroy it, or at least to control it, you would have to either somehow convince everybody who owns these servers or computers to do what you want, to somehow maybe steal it, hack into it, or just destroy it. But as long as there is one computer that has a copy of this blockchain, then there still is a blockchain. And since, this is global and there are so many computers that have a copy of it, that's why it is considered nearly impossible to destroy. Moving on to cryptocurrency. So what is cryptocurrency? It's a digital or virtual currency secured by cryptography. So it's a mix between money, cryptography, and blockchain. So how exactly do these three aspects play a role into cryptocurrency? To answer that, you need to answer how digital money becomes currency. So the money aspect is pretty straightforward. The goal of digital or virtual money is so that it can be used in place of everyday money that we use now, or at least used alongside that. Blockchain can be answered in this next point, which is the double spending problem is solved by recording every transaction in the ledger. So the double spending problem is where you can spend the same money twice. So say if I had $10 and I spend it on a t-shirt, I get a t-shirt, and then I take the same $10 and I go spend it on coffee. And instead of paying $20 in total, I actually only spent 10. So it sounds a bit like a funny situation because it's not something that we really encounter in our everyday lives, but that's because, you know, when you're using cash, you pay physically, and the cashier has to take it and then put it into the cash drawer. But with virtual money, it's a little different, right? It's easy to reuse it. There's no way of checking if that money was spent anywhere. So there are two ways to verify that. The first is what we see now through a trusted third party with banks. They process and verify all your transactions. But the goal of cryptocurrency, or at least for most currencies, is to not have to depend on one party to be honest. Rather, it's just built into the system to encourage people to be honest, or at least make it more difficult to be dishonest. And that's what blockchain does. It verifies where that money was spent and which money belongs to who. Next point is cryptography. So the security of the records inside the blockchain is solved by cryptography, and we will get into that a little bit later. Of course, with cryptocurrencies, as you imagine, you would need a special wallet for it. So there are two types: there are hardware wallets and software ones. So the software ones are a program that you install and run on your computer and is connected to the blockchain. It creates an account for you by giving you a private key, which is like your password, and account number, which is like your bank account number. So no one can ever access it but you, if you can keep your private key protected and somewhere secure. And there are two further categories for your crypto wallets, your software crypto wallets. So there's non-custodial ones, which is where only you have access to your private key. And then there are custodial ones where you don't have the private key, but your wallet provider has it instead. Generally, it's considered more secure to use non-custodial ones, but there are some reasons that people would use custodial ones over non-custodial